What up? What up? It's your boy RVA from VA, Richmond to be exact, and I'm back again like I never left. Yeah, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? And tonight we have a special guest on the show. I promised you guys that I would bring our opponent each week of the season on the channel so we can get to know a little bit more about our opponents throughout the season. And it just so happened my guy, Jersey Jaguar, was able to join the channel with us today, talk about our week one matchup. Ladies and gentlemen, football is back. We are 4 days away from the week one matchup with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like I said, I got my man Jersey Jaguar right here. If you want to go ahead and plug your socials, you can do that, my man.
So, just Jersey Jaguar on YouTube. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really do a whole lot on Twitter. But if you just search Jersey Jaguar, you should see me. But my main source of putting out content is on YouTube. Now that, especially like you said, football's back, we're in the full swing of things. I'll be putting out probably, 2-3 videos a week throughout the season.
Nice. So just to get you warmed up a little bit, I'm going to be a little corny, but I got to ask you a little bit about your background. Okay. Where are you from? And tell me your whole Jacksonville Jaguar story, how you became a fan.
Well, the name Jersey Jaguar, I actually live in New Jersey.
Okay.
And I was born and raised in New Jersey, but there are pictures of me probably in like first grade wearing a Mark Brunell jersey. I've been a football fan pretty much since I could comprehend what football was. And I think it was a mixture of someone had told me when I was little that the Jaguars had started in 95. So I guess I could have easily been Jersey Panther. And my dad bought me a hat, and like my family, some of my family is really big into football. A lot of them are diehard Eagle fans, but like my parents not so much. So they were like, oh, he likes the Jaguars, so we'll just feed this, interest that he has. And it never went away. I am diehard, dedicated. Everyone who knows me in my personal life associates me with the Jaguars. I have been to Jacksonville many, many times. I've flown games. So yeah, and it was last season when I was convinced that Urban Meyer was going to turn us around. I said, you know what? I see other guys making Jaguar content. Why am I not doing it for, the dynasty that Urban Meyer is going to lead us under? So last year was my first year. Very, very excited to get started in my second year making Jags content.
That's what's up, my man. Trust me, if anybody knows your pain of what you've been through, I mean, you guys had that one. I got to give you guys your flowers, even though it was a while back. You guys had an AFC championship game that you guys played in, and I enjoyed watching you guys that year. Like, I genuinely enjoyed watching that defense. And I remember that year, I thought to myself, I said, this Jacksonville Jaguar team is young, and they're going to be around for a while. And it was really surprising to see the turn of events that happened after that. But here, being a Washington now Commanders fan, as you know, we've been through the absolute ringer. I mean, from the top of the organization all the way down to the field. But, through and through, I stay true to the team, and I rock with them no matter what. And like you said, I've been following the team for years and years and years, but I thought to myself, I am eligible, and I do have the requirements it takes to start a channel and talk about this team. As much pain as they have put us through. So I started my channel.
Cost us.
Yeah. So, I started this adventure, and, it was one of the best decisions I made. So we're going to get into it. Like I said, I got some questions for you. We're going to get into a little bit about the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then also we'll end it with a little bit about, how you're feeling going into this week one matchup. So, first question I got for you is, what did you think of your off season this year?
Well, see, to really, oof. So a lot of highs, a lot of lows. Obviously the big thing that everyone likes to talk about is how much money the Jags spent in free agency. Everyone's talked about the Christian Kirk contract and everything, which the Christian Kirk thing, it's kind of not a lot of people know this, but it's pretty much the way that it's structured is after 2 years, if he is not living up to what we expect, the Jags can cut him with no dead cap.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't really know that.
Right.
And a lot of people don't really realize that a lot of that money is incentives.
Okay.
So I hope he earns every bit of the 70, 80, whatever million, because that means that he's the best possible weapon that Trevor could have.
Right.
He's for Trevor what Jamar Chase is for Joe Burrow.
Right.
Do I necessarily think that we're going to end up paying him all that? No. But I can definitely say that Christian Kirk is worlds better than anything Trevor had to throw to last season. I also really, really liked, and some Jags fans, I mean, you might actually know a little bit more about this because it's in your division. I was very excited about Evan Ingram signing.
Okay.
From the Giants.
Right.
Because the Jags paid him, it was like a 1-year, $8 million deal with
prove it deal.
Right. And worth up to $10 million.
Right.
To me, that's chump change. And, the two positions really that the Jaguars have not been able to get right for years is, quarterback, which we think we got that right with Trevor, and tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Evan Ingram has that potential enough to throw the 1-year prove-it deal at him. And I think, especially with Doug Peterson, with his kind of offense that he runs, I mean, and plus the man's had Daniel Jones throwing at him the last several years. I mean, got to give him some sort of a break for that. But not just, solely on the offensive side, but I really like what the Jags did defensively.
Okay.
This offseason. I'm sure, maybe you heard about the whole clown movement thing that happened. Jaguar fans mocking our general manager, Trent Baalke. It was like a big deal at the end of the season. But I'll give him a little bit of a credit because our front seven is totally revamped from last season. For the better. Me personally, I was not happy about them drafting Trayvon Walker first overall. I wanted Aiden Hutchinson. But, and I know it's so easy to get sucked into that preseason hype.
Right.
But he was going up against starting left tackles, and Trayvon Walker was harassing. And Trayvon Walker was legitimately showing signs of dominance. Now, against preseason, and it was just in spurts, he didn't play a whole lot. But if that carries over, then although it was the biggest reach in our franchise's history, I think it could pay off. Also, I'm very excited to see Devin Lloyd play on Sunday. He had a hamstring tweak and really didn't play throughout the whole preseason, except for the first quarter against the last preseason game. But I mean, you can't really judge from that.
Right.
So really excited to see what he brings. And then from the New York Jets, we signed Foley Fatukasi, big defensive tackle, and our other starting nose tackle, Devon Hamilton, along with guys like Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen. And then we also drafted Chad Muma and then signed Foye Oluokun from the Atlanta Falcons, led the league in tackling last year.
Yep. So
Jaguars front seven, although I'm still a little bitter that they got rid of Miles Jack because he was one of my boys. But the Jaguars linebacking core is completely redone. All like the young talent, cheap talent, youth that's on our front seven now. The hope is, that what the Jaguars thought we had in a long-term established defense with the Jacksonville thing in 2017. Right. And that all fell apart so quickly. All the players left, wouldn't resign. The hope and the dream is that the Jaguars kind of have almost a new version of that will be sustained. Because someone like Doug Peterson and the culture that I believe he'll bring to our organization, to me, is a whole lot more sustainable than what the Jaguars have had in their front office for a long time. I think something you and I can really relate to with our owners and our management are, I mean, Shad Khan and I'm drawing a blank with Washington's owner.
Dan Snyder?
Yes.
The Snake? Just call him the Snake. That's all you got to call him, the Snake.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty much synonymous with 1A, 1B for the worst owners in the league.
Yeah.
But, you know, I did really like what the Jags have done. I think some of the big question mark that we might have, and it's really only so for health, is the running back position. Well, I'm not going to say the only question mark. We've won 4 games in 2 years, but that's probably one of my biggest concerns is Travis Etienne and James Robinson staying healthy. But I think if they're able to keep their health and everything else that we've added in free agency in the draft, I think the Jaguars have done enough to surround Trevor Lawrence with enough to compete in every game. I don't know how many games we're going to win this year, but we should be competitive. We should look like a competent NFL team.
Okay. Yeah, man, it's so funny. You brought up some very, very good points, and you actually talked about a lot of the stuff that I was going to talk with you about tonight. And the next question I had for you was, who did you think you guys were going to take with that number 1 overall pick? And you kind of said, you were more of a Hutchinson guy.
Yeah.
And you guys,
I was Hutchinson, but and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
If I would have respected it because we had re-signed Cam Robinson to a 3-year contract. If they had chosen to not do that, and because the Jaguars spent a 2nd-round pick 2 drafts ago on Walker Little.
Right.
So if the Jaguars had decided to play Walker Little at right tackle and then draft Evan Neal or Ike Ekwonu at number 1 and gone with Trevor's our guy. We want fresh, young, cheap left tackle to protect him for the next decade. We believe Evan Neal can do that. If they had done that, I would have respected it.
Okay.
But the apple of my eye was Aiden Hutchinson for sure.
Okay.
But from what Trayvon Walker has shown in preseason, again, it's just preseason, but man, I hope it's the real thing because he's looked good.
Yeah, most definitely. That's one thing I can say. I remember that first you guys played in the Hall of Fame game, and I was a little disappointed because I was there trying to get my scouting report for week 1, and then Doug Peterson rolls out none of the starters, but he did roll out the rookie Trayvon Walker. And like you said, the guy absolutely crushed the combine. He was one of those combine warriors, really drove his stock up in the draft. And then also a lot of people were pointing to the fact that what he was asked to do in Georgia, he wasn't really asked to per se just rush the quarterback and get in the backfield. So they felt that there was some stuff out there that he would be able to do. And from what I've seen thus far, I'm not gonna lie to you, he looks like the real thing. Now, I gotta hold my horses on it because it is the preseason, like you said. But the one good thing is you guys have that other man beast on the other side, Josh Allen. I absolutely love that guy. Huge Josh Allen fan. So that's one thing in week 1 that I'm hoping now with us having Carson Wentz in Washington, one of his issues being holding the ball too long. I'm hoping that our offensive line, which was really, really good last year in the pass protection, hoping we can hold up and keep those guys from getting on Carson Wentz. So now, I'm gonna ask you this: what was your favorite offseason signing, and what was your least favorite?
Ooh. Do you strictly just mean like free agents?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hmm. My least favorite. Oh, that's a good question. Well, okay. I kind of think, although from what I hear, he looks really good in camp.
Yeah.
When we had first signed Zay Jones,
Okay.
I actually kind of thought that we gave him a little bit too much money. But I mean, I'm going to sound kind of hypocritical because the little bit in preseason he's played and training camp seems to be having a good camp. But
Right.
that was the only signing that kind of like when we made it, I was kind of like, like I don't know about that.
Right.
But I will probably be wrong about that. Like I said, because all reports are that him and Trevor have really built a connection. And then my favorite one, honestly, is probably Brandon Sheriff.
Ooh, spicy.
Because it was the first one that we did.
Right.
And, he's the best player on the offense. I mean, until Trevor proves that is the next Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck. I mean, Brandon Sheriff is a 4 or 5 time All Pro. I mean, he's as legitimate as it gets, And if we're ever going to give Trevor the real opportunity and chance to be what we think he is, you got to have the guys up front. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Christian Kirk, I was happy with as well, but Brandon Sheriff was the signing when we made it. I was like, good. Like that's how you change an offense with signing.
Right. Got a couple comments I'm going to show real quick and read them. My man, Big Money Sonny, salute to Command Respect TV. We coming for Jags Cheeks week 1. Also, my man Roger Arthur, hail to the Redskins. Wentz going to show y'all what's a good quarterback in our team can be. Another comment from Roger Arthur, Hutchinson was the best pick, and Lions were like that, you Jags. Big Money Sonny, oh, this is one of his funny jokes he always got. Wentz top 5, dead or alive. My man Big Money Sonny is standing on that for sure. Big Money Sonny, and again, Brandon is damn good. Sorry to tell y'all.
I hope not.
Damaged goods. And then Roger Arthur, he only played like 12 games. So
doesn't he, even in the years where he hasn't played a full season, hasn't he still made like the Pro Bowl and All Pros?
So if anybody can tell you about Brandon Sheriff, it is me here and the people in the comments that are Commanders fan. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like Brandon Sheriff is some scrub. I will not do that. I will not tolerate it. I can't do it. When the guy is out there, he is solid as a rock. When he is out there, you have nothing to worry about with him on his side. That's why he's been named an All-Pro so many times. But as a Washington fan, and as you know, we drafted the guy. He was here in Washington. He decided to move on. I can't blame him. I wasn't really upset about it, to be honest. But the thing with Brandon Sheriff is it would always irritate me because he always would have, some injury that came out of nowhere, mid-game. Next thing you know, he's on the sideline and you're like, what's going on? So it was a little frustrating. And then another thing that rubbed a lot of the fans here wrong is we offered him a deal to make him the highest paid guard in the league, and he didn't take the deal. So when that happened, a lot of the fans, like I said, I wasn't on that side because I felt like with our O-line coach, John Maskell, he does a great job plugging guys in and getting the most out of that position on the offensive line. So I wasn't too upset about it, but I know a lot of fans, were upset he didn't take that money. And then, like I said, his history track over the last couple of years, he hasn't played a full 16, 17, 18 game season. So that's my only complaint with him. But far as, like I said, when he's on the field, he's solid.
So he's never played a full season then?
If he has, it had to be like his first maybe 2 years, and I'm just guessing with that. Like I said, the guy, every year it seems like he has some form of
always a nagging.
Yeah, something going on, some injury. He doesn't seem to be able to play a full season of games. So another comment from Roger Arthur: I need more games. Roger Arthur again. He knew he didn't want to be here and then injured. Yep. And then also my man, Big Money Sonny, major facts. Our O-line coach seems to strike gold every time. That being said, Brandon seems like a good dude, but he had to go. Yeah.
Now, was that this offseason that Washington offered him that money?
No, that was, yep. And he carried in our new general manager that Ron Rivera brought in, Marty Herney, and he talked about it in one of the pressers, and he actually had to walk it back. You could tell they were really upset that he told the media, that they offered him a huge contract and he turned it down. So that was the end of that. And then after that, they kind of walked it back and said that, he said he shouldn't have gave that information, to the media. So that was a big thing, but it is what it is. Like I said, even with him not being here in Washington, I'm still pretty confident in our offensive line ability. We brought in Norwell from the Carolina Panthers. He was once from
us.
Oh yeah, from you guys. Sorry about that.
Yep. Yeah, we just kind of swapped.
I get kind of mixed up because Ron Rivera seems to bring in a lot of ex-Panther players.
Yeah.
All and stuff like that. So I get mixed up at times. But yeah, we got him from you guys. So actually, you can give us a little insight on him as well.
Sure. So Andrew Norwell, I can tell you that the very first year that he was brought in with us, he was coming off of his all-pro year with Carolina.
Right.
Chose not to resign with them, and then we gave him the big contract. His first year with us, I can say his first year with us was the worst of all of his years.
Okay. Was
the most inconsistent. Jaguar fans pretty much weekly crucified him.
Yeah.
But he got better. Like he pretty much improved as every year went on. I mean, he's solid, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously he didn't relive that, all pro status that he had in Carolina.
Right.
But he's not a bad player.
Yeah.
I'll put it to you like this. I don't know what you're paying him, but you're probably paying him a lot cheaper than what we're paying Brandon Sheriff.
Yeah.
And the drop-off, although there probably is a drop-off, it's probably not that astronomical. I'll just say that.
Right.
It's he's not a bum off the street.
Right. And that's pretty much, what we were expecting here. So we've been pretty spot on with our diagnosis of the whole situation from what we've heard. And then also, like I said, with Ron Rivera being familiar, he's already familiar with the coaching staff. And like I said, our offensive line coach, he's a magician, man. I don't know what it is he does with the O-line. I mean, from our first string in the preseason, from our first string to our second string to the third string, outside of like the last game where we only played guys that weren't going to make the roster. I mean, the pass protection was a thing of beauty. It easily is one of our top position groups on our team. And it's crazy for me to say that because when you look at the offensive line, there's not a lot of, bright, big names there that you're like, oh, they got, we don't have that. But what we do have is a bunch of solid guys that get the job done. So it's good to definitely get that reassurance from you as well. Now, next question I have for you is, what takeaway did you get from the preseason, if any?
Well, and again, we're taking the preseason as seriously as we can. Like I was saying earlier, the Jaguars run defense and the Jaguars front seven is significantly better. So really the last 2 years, teams have been able to run 4, 5, 7, 8 yards a chunk at will anytime they want to. If it was a 3rd and short, teams are going to run it, and 9.5 times out of 10 they're going to get it. When the starting defense was out for the Jags, I think they only played like maybe 3 quarters worth. We only allowed 7 points, and we pretty much annihilated most running games. The pressure, I think, because I think the Pittsburgh game was the only game where all the starters on the defensive front outside of Devin Lloyd were playing, and Mitchell Trubisky didn't have a second in the pocket. We were constantly harassing him. Someone who I'm very excited to see, because he had a sack in every game in the preseason, is Arden Key, who we signed from the San Francisco 49ers. I'll be honest, I never heard of the dude when we signed him. We signed him like a 1-year, $6 million signing, and I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. Just, I guess, depth.
Right.
He has been incredible in the preseason. So he is someone who, if that carries over, along with Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker and Fadu Kasi in the middle there, I think the Jaguars, the pass rush could be much better than it's been, because the last 2 years, man, we had a game where we played Seattle, and Russell Wilson didn't even play. It was Geno Smith. And Geno Smith carved us up because he was sitting there writing novels in the pocket.
Right.
No one was touching him. He had no pressure, because teams could double team and chip Josh Allen all day, and there's nothing else.
Yeah.
And now, the hope is they're not going to, teams are going to have to play Josh Allen one-on-one, Trayvon Walker one-on-one, and Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma were, blitzing linebackers a lot in college. Devin Lloyd, I mean, a lot of Jaguar fans were kind of making jokes that when we, after the draft, that Devin Lloyd was a better pass rusher than Trayvon Walker, and he's a linebacker. He's not even a defensive lineman. So I'm excited to see that for sure. Also, Trevor definitely he just looks more in command of things, if that makes sense. It looks like a functioning organization. I mean, Urban Meyer was so clueless, and Urban Meyer just had week 1 against Houston last year, I mean, the first series or 2 of the game, it looked like it was the end of June training camp. I mean, illegal shifts and everything. And he had Trevor throw the ball 50 times in his first game. You make any rookie quarterback throw the ball 50 times in their first game, you're going to get blown out. You can't win that way. So I guess to really answer your question, my 2 biggest takeaways is our defense will be significantly improved. And Trevor Lawrence has a real head coach.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it was absolutely crazy to me when the story came out that Urban Meyer didn't know who Aaron Donald was.
Yes.
That was absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, he asked one of our assistants, who's the 99 guy? I hear he could be a problem for us. And I'll tell you something else about that game. James Robinson, who never fumbled in 2 years playing, never fumbled. His first carry of that game, he fumbled because Aaron Donald lit him up,
Right.
and Urban Meyer benched him, and he didn't come out and play until late in the third quarter because Trevor Lawrence went to the sideline and said, we're getting killed and you have our best player on the sideline. Why is he not out there?
Yikes, man.
And I mean, Trevor won't have to deal with that anymore.
Right.
Doug Peterson is a competent mind who knows, who actually knows how to game plan for NFL teams, who knows how to scheme in an NFL system. So just that development from year 1 to year 2 is what I can't wait to see.
Most definitely, man. And I can vouch for Doug Peterson as much as I hate his guts because he was a coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. He was the guy for our now guy, Carson Wentz, which we're going to get into a little bit later. So I definitely loved, as much as I hate him, I loved you guys hiring Doug Peterson. And I think he is the right guy to possibly get Trevor Lawrence where he needs to be because we all know the electrifying talent that Trevor Lawrence is, and hopefully him and Doug Peterson can make beautiful music, just not on us though.
Wait till week 2, right?
Yeah, wait till week two for that. Got another comment, Roger Arthur. It'd be crazy if we get the same production from Norwell as Sheriff.
Well, I will tell you this much: I don't remember too many times, if really any. Well, maybe once or twice where he got injured. So he is Norwell is pretty reliable that way.
That's good to know. Also, another comment from my man, Big Money Sonny. Questions for Jersey Jaguar. How did you become a Jags fan? And also, what are the chances of you winning the division this year?
So, became a Jags fan pretty much. The name Jersey Jaguar means I live in New Jersey and I'm a Jaguar fan. So I'm definitely a rare breed. Someone told me when I was a kid that the Jaguars were established in 1995. That's the year I was born. So as a kid, I just kind of gravitated to that. So I guess I could have just as easily been Jersey Panther. And it just kind of went from there. Never strayed away from them. Always kept dedicated to them. And then the second question was, what would the chances we win the division? I believe.
Yep.
So the Texans suck. Although Davis Mills, I don't know, some people are high on him, and it's he could go either way for me. The Titans are definitely on their last legs. Ryan Tannehill's not it.
Nope.
They don't have AJ Brown, and Derrick Henry can only do what he's been doing for so long. It may not be this year, but sometime soon the man is going to have to come back to reality. And once that goes, Tennessee long term is not built. They're not. Their offense is built around one man who's on his last legs. They don't have a quarterback. And honestly, when it comes to the Colts, I think the Colts are one of those teams where, yeah, they might be good enough to make the playoffs. Maybe, yeah, they might win the division. They won't win a Super Bowl.
Nope.
They're not winning the Super Bowl, especially in the AFC. They're not winning it with Matt Ryan. Nope. Even if the Colts, even if they rip off 11 games this year and they win the AFC South, they're a one and done. So what are the chances that we win the division? I mean, not great, but you know what? To start the 2017 season, I would have said the same thing. So, and everyone would have said the same thing about the Bengals last year. So you never know. I don't really have a number. The chances are not great. I'm not going into this season saying, yeah, double-digit wins and, home playoff game. But in the NFL, you never know. You really don't. You never know.
That's why they play the game, man.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask you, what position group are you most confident in, and which one is a concern for you?
Position group that I'm most confident in. Well, I mean, if you ask me this, and by Thanksgiving, it might be quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say it's kind of like a three-way tie for
Okay.
me.
Okay.
If Travis Etienne and James Robinson stay healthy, I think the Jaguars could easily have a top 10 running game in the NFL. James Robinson is, one of the best undrafted players that's come in the league in a long time. And Travis Etienne was incredible at Clemson.
Right.
Now, this is really Sunday will be his first actual game because he broke his foot last preseason. But he was electric and dynamic in Clemson. So I think it could be running back. Also, I really like the Jaguars' corner room. Tyson Campbell was a pick 2 years ago that a lot of Jaguar fans were kind of sour on, including myself. And he did not have a good start to his career last year. But the last, probably like back end of November through December, Tyson Campbell, it clicked with him, and he played some really good football. We have Shaq Quarterman that we signed from Seattle, and we also signed Darius Williams from the Rams, and he was their corner opposite Jalen Ramsey.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I have pretty good confidence in that. And then third is the linebacker core.
Okay.
Foye Oluokun led the league last year with Atlanta, and then we drafted Devin Lloyd out of Utah. That Jaguar fans are just in love with him already. We think he has all of the potential in the world, and then I'm also very excited about Chad Muma that we drafted in the third round out of Wyoming. So that position group is it's young and it's inexperienced, but I think it has a lot of potential. So, yeah.
Okay. That's one of the things, and it's so funny you talk about these young linebackers with so much upside, and that's kind of a upsetting conversation here in Washington. If you talk to any Washington fan, we are not happy with the production we've been getting from our linebackers. It's been an absolute nightmare. Last year, we took very raw prospect, kind of like one of those Trayvon Walker picks, combine warrior, a guy named Jamin Davis from Kentucky. They drafted him to play the Mike position. But when you looked at the tape from Kentucky, which he only started 1 year, and which the only reason he started for Kentucky that year was because his teammate got injured. So they took a swing at this guy with high upside. I mean, don't get me wrong, the guy's super athletic, has the speed, all of the measurables that you want in a modern day linebacker. But he really, really struggled last year. And they just overloaded him with so much trying to learn how to play the mic in the NFL. And like I said, being such a raw prospect. So fans last year were very critical of the guy, and they pretty much soured on him. Now, this is his second year with us, and they now have taken our other linebacker, Cole Holcomb, who's been wanting to play the mic position. And he's a pretty good linebacker. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's made some pretty good, solid plays, and he's played pretty solid for us. They finally moved him to Mike this year. So he's going to be calling the play caller for the defense. And they now have our first round draft pick, Jamin Davis, at his rightful position, which is the weak side linebacker. So this preseason, he's looked really, really good flying around. But the depth behind the linebacker room is where us here in Washington are very, very suspect about. We wanted them to draft another linebacker in this draft, and they did not take one, even with a lot of linebackers falling in this draft. I mean, especially Nakobe Dean.
I was just going to say it must have just infuriated you to see him go to Philadelphia.
Yeah. So, and then we have a head coach in Ron Rivera who tells us he likes our guys. So we have two vets behind Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis. John Bostic, who was just cut from the Saints, but somehow he's good enough to play here in Washington. He's been with us before. Very smart guy, veteran, but he's slow. And we're not happy with them picking him back up. And then also we have David Mayo, who is an ex-Carolina Panthers player. That's a shocker. Another guy, very good tackling, but slow as well. So the linebacker position for us is at question, and a lot of us here in Washington, fan-wise, we are not excited about that room at all. So hearing you talk about all these young linebackers with upside that you guys got, and I was going to ask you, what was that situation? Is Chad Muma going to play behind Fournier? And then also, you said Devin Lloyd's been dealing with a hamstring injury, but is he going to be starting for you guys?
Yes. The Jags actually released their starting depth chart today, and Devin Lloyd is listed as the starter next to Foye Aluakon.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting because, again, the only action he saw in the preseason was the first quarter, and at that point, I mean, he's not playing against anyone that's
right
playing on Sundays.
Right.
So that I'm actually really interested to see how quickly he picks things up.
Right.
And then when it comes to Chad Muma, I don't really know how to answer that question because a lot of Jaguar fans have been wondering that too. Like, all these linebackers, what are we going to do with them?
Yeah.
And I think that I think our defensive coordinator has certain blitz packages.
Okay.
I think you could see situations where, like, Devin Lloyd is on the line, a scrimmage, and Chad Muma's in coverage.
Right.
I'm just as curious as you are to see what they're going to do with our plethora of linebackers.
Okay.
It'll be very interesting to see as the season progresses.
Well, at least you can say this: you guys have a good problem with having some options at the position. Chad Muma, from what I've seen in the preseason, he looked, pretty darn good as well. Seemed to be getting to the ball when he was out there. So, like I said, you guys seem to have a good problem over there at the moment.
Yeah, for once.
Yep. My man, Roger Arthur, Holcomb, and Davis are going to be fine. Hey, look, I'm not saying that they're not. Specifically, I'm just speaking of the depth behind them. Like I said, Jamin Davis has made a huge jump from last year with them playing him inside, and I'm, hopefully, with him now being outside of that weak position, we'll be able to see the guy that we drafted in the first round. So, with that being said, get on to the next question. It's so funny you talked about him as well. I was just ready to ask you, who is the guy far as your cornerbacks that is going to check our guy, Terry McLaurin? Who is that guy in that room that you think they would challenge with that task?
So I would imagine that it'll be Tyson Campbell.
Okay.
McLaurin is mostly an outside receiver, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so it'll more than likely most of the time be Tyson Campbell. There may be times, depending on where they line them up, where it's Shaq Griffin. But I would imagine that that Shaq Griffin will probably be on, either like a Curtis Samuel or Jahad Dodson. But as far as McLaurin is concerned, I would say that that's probably Tyson Campbell's task. And McLaurin's a great receiver, and I do expect him to, I expect it to be a battle.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see how that pans out.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, my next question, I gotta ask you this. We have a guy here in DC now, Carson Wentz. You guys faced him when he was with the Colts last year. And this is a fact, right? They haven't beaten you guys in Jacksonville since what year?
They have not won in Jacksonville since Blake Bortles' rookie year.
Whew. Yikes.
And you know what's funny? The Jaguars were doing this whole thing where they said that Blake Bortles wasn't playing that year. They were going to redshirt him, and Chad Henne was our starter.
Yeah.
And Chad Henne played the first half of that game, and the Colts were up like a stupid amount of points.
Yeah.
It was like 30-0 or something. And Blake Bortles started the second half of that game, and actually came out, threw a couple touchdowns, and yeah, I'm not saying we would have won if he played,
Right.
but the team was much more alive with that. But since then, so it's been pretty much every year since 2015,
Wow.
they've lost. Actually, my first ever Jaguar home game that I saw was that's time where we beat the Colts 6-0,
Right.
and we had Cody Kessler at quarterback.
Wow.
So like we had Cody Kessler at quarterback. Now I had bought the tickets for that like way before. This was coming off the 2017 season, and I had no idea that we were going to bench and move on from Blake Bortles.
Right.
And the Colts were a playoff team, and Andrew Luck was having this wonderful season, and they can't win. I don't know what it is, but they can't beat us. And a lot of Jaguar fans, I'll just say this, a lot of them are really wanting this win on Sunday because we play the Colts in Jacksonville week 2.
Mm.
And the idea in our minds of starting 2-0 after winning 4 games in 2 seasons is crazy to us.
Right.
Because so we're like, oh my God, if we can pull this off against Washington, we're guaranteed to beat the Colts week 2.
Right.
So we'll be the talk of the league. The Jaguars starting off 2-0.
Right.
But yeah, I don't ask me how, but they can't beat us.
That is absolutely crazy. So the reason I brought that up was because that leads me to this. The narrative around Carson Wentz, as we all know, and I don't know people, I want you to know this. I don't know how he feels about Carson Wentz at all. Okay, I just want you guys to know that. Now, the narrative that's painted towards Carson Wentz is he sucks, he's horrible, he lost the game in Jacksonville to get in the playoffs against you guys, and it was his fault. Nobody else fault, just Carson Wentz. He lost that game. Now, from what I've seen, I watch Hard Knocks. I've also watched that game as well. And what I seen was Carson Wentz's whole team stunk in that game. To me, it's unfair to put all of the blame and say, hey, Carson Wentz lost that game. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. What are your thoughts on Carson Wentz? And also, what are your thoughts on that past game? I mean, was it a team losing effort, or would you put solely the blame on Carson Wentz in that game?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if there's any doubt, in anyone's mind, the Jaguars in all 3 phases beat the Colts that game. I mean, we were running the ball down their throat. We contained Jonathan Taylor. The only time pretty much last year we were able to stop the run at all was that game. Yeah, no mistake about it. That was the best game that Trevor looked. It wasn't. Now, Carson Wentz made a few mistakes in that game, had a couple turnovers, yes, but it's not like it was down to the fourth quarter, 1 or 2 possessions, and he threw a pick. It wasn't like that. The Jaguars beat them in all aspects in that game. My personal opinion on Carson Wentz is he's a quarterback that a team can definitely win with. Do I necessarily think he's elite? No, but I don't think Washington's paying him elite money. I think if you have the right pieces around him, I think you can definitely win with him for sure. I don't know. I mean, I don't know necessarily if he'll be like, Washington's starter for the next, 5 to 8 years.
Right.
But I think, I think Washington can compete in the NFC East for sure. I mean, I think the Cowboys might fall off. The Giants are probably going to have a top 3 pick. The Eagles, I think the Eagles will actually be really good this year if Jalen Hurts is worth anything. But I think, I mean, as long as, Washington stays healthy, I think Carson Wentz is good enough to where, they can probably, at least compete for a wild card, at least.
Right.
I think.
Okay.
So I guess I'm kind of like in the middle with Carson Wentz. He's not bad. I think anyone that says he's a bad quarterback is wrong. Like, if they just look at, like you were saying, that last game that he played against us, the whole team choked. He didn't choke. It wasn't just him.
Right.
He's not a bad quarterback, but he's not elite. But you can win with him for sure.
He's solid.
Yes,
he's a solid quarterback. So now that's going to lead me to we're going to wrap up here in a few. I don't want to hold you too long, but I wanted to ask you, what player on Washington mostly concerns you?
Well, I guess this might sound a little bit hypocritical, but Carson Wentz.
Okay.
I guess, yeah. I guess what he can do with McLaurin. Probably. I mean, if Chase Young was playing, then it would be no question. I would say Chase Young. Which actually, I wanted to ask you, who would be playing? Like, who's replacing Chase Young in that game?
So right now, the way the unofficial depth chart is, we have a guy named James Smith-Williams. He's a depth guy, and pretty much from what I took from it is they're going to be, rotating. They're going to try to, keep a fresh body out there, and between James Smith-Williams and then also a guy named Casey Toohill as well. Which last year, as you know, Chase Young got injured in the Buccaneers game. So, we didn't have him for the back end of the season. And surprisingly, Chase Young was having a very underwhelming year, sophomore year last year. And surprisingly, with him not playing once he got injured, the defensive line actually seemed to play better. And that might be surprising for you to hear. But I think a lot of that was due to the fact of the coaching staff was saying the defensive line was playing very selfish last year. As you know, we have, this vaunted defensive line with all these first-round draft picks on it, a lot of guys from Alabama. We have Montez Sweat on one side, which he looks absolutely phenomenal this year. He had 7.5 sacks last year, and he also dealt with some injuries last year. And then his brother passed away as well. So he didn't play all games, but when he was out there, he was an absolute man among boys. He's looking phenomenal. And then also, as you know, we got Jonathan Allen, part of that Bama wall, and then Deron Payne as well. And then we let Tim Settle walk. He's now with Buffalo. And then Matt Ioannidis, we weren't able to re-sign him, so they let him go as well. And he's now with Carolina. So what we did was get Fadarian Mathis. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He played for Alabama as well. He was their D tackle. So now he's one of our depth piece in the inside, very good in the run game. And then we have another D tackle, Daniel Wise, who also had a very, very strong preseason. So we got solid depth at the position. But as far as the Chase Young void, they're going to be rotating guys and just pretty much, try to keep fresh legs out there. And like I said, those guys did play pretty well for, what we were missing with Chase Young. So that'll be pretty much what you'll see, a bunch of different guys rotating from his spot.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Well, that's good to know because I was kind of wondering that.
Yep. But it's so funny that you said Carson Wentz, and I can't even be mad at that because to add to your point, if you look at Carson Wentz's career, he came from a team in Philadelphia where he pretty much had to carry that team. I mean, let's be real. They didn't have a lot of viable options on the offense. I mean, you had Zach Ertz, and then you had Alshon Jeffrey. But outside of that, even when he went to the Colts, I mean, they had Michael Pittman, who I believe is a number 2 on a team with actual good receivers. That's just my personal opinion right now. That could change, but right now, that's why I pin him. So Carson Wentz hasn't been known to have a plethora of weapons surrounding him. Now he comes to Washington. He has Terry McLaurin, who's played with, I mean, countless amount of quarterbacks and put up these phenomenal numbers. Nobody to write home about. I mean, Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace to him. Alex Smith playing on one leg. Taylor Heineke, he's our backup, did a solid job for us. But you get where I'm going with this. He's had to play with a bunch of guys. You know what I'm saying? And now Carson Wentz is in DC. We're super excited because we know we have a guy with an actual live arm who's played winning football. And outside of one season where I think he went 16 and 15, if you look at his numbers, they're not horrible. So now he has toys to play with. Terry McLaurin, our rookie Jahan Dotson, who we expect big things out of this year. And then also Curtis Samuel, who was injured pretty much all of last year, dealing with a soft tissue injury. So we have him back. And then also Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick in the backfield. We drafted Brian Robinson. He actually was going to take that starting role for us in the backfield, but now we know. I don't know if you heard he was shot in D.C.
I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, man. So now Antonio Gibson will be taking that lead role back for now. And then also the tight end room, Logan Thomas, very good tight end. He's coming off an injury as well. John Bates, solid guy we took last year in the draft. And then this year we drafted Cole Turner, who played for Nevada. And he was a receiver, converted to tight end, and he was Carson Strong, who played for Nevada. What was that quarterback? Carson Strong, right?
I'm not sure.
I think it's Carson Strong. I'm just going to roll with that name right now. Quarterback for Nevada. He was his number one target. The guy had like 18 touchdowns in 2 seasons. So we're expecting big things from him as well. So basically what I'm getting to, your point of saying Carson Wentz could be valid due to the fact of the amount of weapons they have surrounded this guy with. There should be absolutely no excuse to why he can't succeed here in Washington.
Yeah, and I think another reason why I said Carson Wentz is, while I am very excited about the Jaguars defense and what I think it could be,
right?
We do have a first-year defensive coordinator, and we have a plethora of young, new pieces that weren't playing last year.
Right.
So, if we were playing Washington in late October, November, maybe I would feel differently. But, how quickly will our defense be able to gel?
Right.
Not preseason when teams are actually scheming and it's the real deal.
Yeah.
That remains to be seen. So that's why I went with Carson Wentz.
Okay. So I got 2 more questions for you. Bear with me. 2 quick questions and I'll let you get out of here.
Sure.
How confident are you in your guys coming to FedEx and getting a W, and why?
I'll say realistically, maybe like 50-50, 60-40. But then again, most of that could be just it's week 1, everyone's excited. No one really knows what anyone looks like or how good anyone is. It's so hard to judge week 1.
Right.
But I'm not going to sit here and, necessarily I'm not going to guarantee a victory because if the Jaguars do win, it will not be easy. Right. I think no matter what, this game does come down to the 4th quarter. The one thing that I will guarantee for the Jags is week 1 of last year, we were blown out by a team that wasn't good in Houston because Urban Meyer did not have us prepared at all.
Right.
That will not be the case with Doug Peterson. So I do believe it will be very competitive.
Okay.
I do believe that, whether we win or lose, I do believe it'll be a game where in the 4th quarter, fans on both sides are still invested, and it could go either way.
Yeah, most definitely. Trust me, man. I've been warning Washington fans, and me. For me, this is like I've been telling people, this will not be an easy task. For fans that say that, oh, we're going to do this and do that, I mean, to me, is absolutely ridiculous. I think, like you said, this is going to be a tight, good ball game, and it's definitely going to come down to the fourth quarter. We shall see, what the end result will be. But it's definitely going to be a good matchup. But I know just as bad as you guys want it, what makes it so intriguing, there's storylines. Carson Wentz playing a team that he last lost to when he was with the Colts that knocked him out of the playoffs. Also, the reveal of the rebrand here in Washington week 1, and is a home game as well. And then also Doug Peterson playing against, a team that was in his same division when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz being his old quarterback. This thing is just all over the place. So it's going to be intense, man. And I think it's really, really going to be a good game, and it's going to be a battle. It should be. Now, last question I'm going to have for you. Give me a score prediction. Just put it out there. Let me know how you think this thing plays out, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay. I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
I said, last question for you. Give me a score prediction. Put it out there. Let me know what you think this thing will look like, and we'll leave it at that.
Score prediction. Ooh. Oh, man. I'll do 2024.
Okay.
2024. It could go either way.
Okay. All right. I really appreciate you, my man, coming on the channel. This was definitely fun. Oh.
I don't know, something happened to my audio. I don't hear you anymore.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? No.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you anymore.
All right. Can you hear me? No?
That's strange. Yeah, I don't hear you anymore.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to just go ahead and end it right here. Our man, JerseyJaguar, joined the stream, talk Commanders and Jacksonville. I can't wait for this game. It's your boy, RBA from VA, Richmond to be exact. Peace.